It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, so as we look at these things and you watch this, how it's gone down and how things have been for this team, Tim Reynolds covers the NBA for the Associated Press, joins us on the program here. Tim, thanks for being with us, man, all the way across the world.
Halfway, anyway. All I'm doing, I'm in Cortina. The Olympics officially start tomorrow. I'm just getting ready for 2034. That's all this is for me.
Yeah.
These are just practice runs.
Well, we made these. Obviously we're the NBC affiliate here in town too, and so we have Olympic, and Salt Lake loves its Olympics, man. Not just its Olympics, but the Olympics overall, man. We tune in, and our station made all these pins that have the Milan Cortina and the Salt Lake 2034 Olympics as well, because we can't go a few minutes without mentioning, of course, that it's going to be back here in Salt Lake. But you got to see this whole thing go down from halfway across the world, and you watched this thing go down. I read an article today that was like, yeah, the Jazz getting Jaren Jackson Jr. was great, but they still, that he doesn't pass very well. He doesn't rebound very well. I started to read all this, and I'm going, okay, I don't like the way they're kind of going at this thing, because a lot of Jazz Nation feels like it was a massive day for this organization because you feel like you're this much closer to the tank being over, at least not for this year, but yeah, into next year.
The tank is not over.
No. It has to keep going this year.
There's a little bit of work left to do,
You have to keep going this year. But what were your overall thoughts of what the Jazz did and what Austin and Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck did during this trade moment for the Jazz to bring a big name into Salt Lake City?
Well, the first thing I think we have to say is the 2034 Olympics are coming to Salt Lake City. Yeah. I just want to get that out there again because it's been we went nearly a
2
minute.
minutes, yeah.
I don't want to get you guys in trouble. I think it's funny that Jaren Jackson changed his number to 8 recently, as if to remind everybody that the top 8 pick is still very much in play here for the Jazz. I love Jaren Jackson, and okay. I may be easily swayed on this, but he was on the World Cup team that went to Manila in 2023, and there wasn't a lot of writers, that went over. There was a few, not a lot. So you had some reasonable access to guys, and I didn't know him at all, and I still don't it's not lie to the listeners here. I don't know the man, but he's just remarkably smart. He's really introspective. And he's still a kid. This isn't a guy who's 32 and trying to figure it out. He's a kid. So I love this move. I absolutely love it. I think it's great that teams like Utah, Washington, Indiana, this is, this year's a reset, obviously, because of the Halliburton injury. But I think it's great that teams like Utah and Washington are saying, you know what? We're not done yet. The tank is still outside our buildings, but there are plans for it to be put on a hauler and taken away in July. And I think that you have fan bases now that have additional reason for hope, which to me is fantastic. What Danny and Austin did, they did what you would expect Danny and Austin to do. If Danny was out there, if Danny was more open, if Danny talked more to media, everyone would be like, oh, my gosh, Danny's really smart. People forget because Danny doesn't say much.
Yeah.
People forget this guy has a 3-decade history now of pretty much making the right move at the right time. So, is he limited in some areas? Sure. I don't think he'll ever be a three-point champion. I doubt he'll have a statue outside the Delta Center. He's a really good player, and it's going to makes everybody better.
If they roll out a lineup of Keontae George, who's taken an enormous jump, and I don't think they make this deal without the emergence of Keontae as a star, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen at the 3, Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 4, and Walker Kessler at the 5 if they can figure out his contract this summer. That's one of the longest, tallest lineups in the NBA, and you got rim protection suddenly, and the Jazz are no longer the worst defensive team in the league. But where does that place them in the hierarchy in the West next year if that's the lineup they roll out there? Plus, if they can keep the pick, which I know is the plan, adding potentially a really, really good talent and a really, really good draft.
This would be a really good year for the ping pong balls to smile upon the Utah Jazz, wouldn't it?
They're due. They've never won the
for
lottery.
obvious reasons in the state of Utah. Like it feels like this would be a good time for them to move up a bit. It's an unusual line. I mean, yes, they're going to be like you're not going to get paint points against this team, but as we all know, teams aren't really built around that right now either. So, there are obviously two very distinct schools of thought. And I've Walker's done some USA basketball stuff too. And, I've always liked him. And I think people have forgotten that he exists just because he hasn't been out there this year. Like, I think people forget that he's still there, that he's still part of this thing. It could be, everything always changes. A few teams were 3-point happy. Then everybody got 3-point happy. Now, you see some teams prioritizing length and going back to the old Heat Knicks ways of defending from the rim out. Teams had gotten away from that. Clearly, the Jazz are not going to get away from that next year. It's funny because one of the guys who really championed that sort of thinking was this guy in San Antonio named Popovich something. And you almost wonder, Will Hardy gets these crazy ideas from sometimes. We wonder.
We see flashes in these press conferences where it kind of gives us a little bit of that sports journalist PTSD thing where you're like, oh, boy, he's gone full pop in this press conference. He's learned too much.
He's never gone full pop. You can definitely see the influence.
I tried to get in my one time in Salt Lake this year for a Jazz game. I was at a Mammoth game, too, but one time at a Jazz game, I tried to get into his pregame at 5:16, and it started at 5:15, and I was shunned from the premises. He's a little Popovichian. Oh, yes, he is.
Popovichian. I love it.
Yeah, he certainly learned from the best. There's no doubt.
As you watch how the Jazz have kind of done, JJ brought up with Keontae George making such a big jump this year, and that makes this type of a move even more doable or even more, I think, successful because people feel like that they have guys that can play. And with Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., if they're able to lock down in restricted free agency over the summer, Walker Kessler, if they're able to, make sure that core group stays together, what's the reality of that starting group? And then maybe an Ace Bailey who still has some growing up to do, obviously quite a bit. But what does that lineup look like to you? Is that a potential playoff team, or is it still early for people to look at that and say contending for the playoffs? No, maybe a play-in. I don't know where to think about where this team is because fans over the last couple of days have said, "Hey, getting back to the Western Conference Finals, it's going to feel great." And you're like, "Well, pump the brakes a little bit." But what's the reality of next year compared to this year if that group does get together?
So if we just stick to that core of five. Let's just say that if that's the projected starting lineup, that Kessler stays, and let's forget about the draft pick, because unless it's a Victor Wembanyama type, it's really hard to count on a rookie. Right. It's unfair to say a rookie's going to be a key contributor on a playoff team right away. And there's some really good rookies, obviously, coming into the league next year. But if we just go with those five, it comes down to the margins, right? If healthy. If the health gods smile upon the Jazz for a change, you could be a playoff team. If the health gods don't, you could be a play-in team and have to be playing really good in the second week of April. But the idea that there's going to be an 83rd game of the season for the Utah Jazz next year is not outside the realm at all. Some things will... at some point, the ride for Golden State will end. I don't know when it will be. I don't know. I mean, as long as Steph Curry is there, they're forever going to be contending for something, I would think. You would think they're going to load up for one more run. Nobody knows what the Lakers are going to look like, although with Luka alone, they'd contend. Some teams are going to be on the slide. The Jazz are clearly a team that's not sliding. The Jazz are a team that's that will clearly rise next year if healthy. How far they rise, again, it goes back to the margins, and you have to be really lucky, and by luck, you have to be healthy. That's pretty much what it is. But to say on opening night next year that the Utah Jazz could finish sixth in the Western Conference, I don't think that's crazy talk. I mean, a lot would have to go right, but it's certainly not crazy talk. No.
And considering what the Jazz have been the last 4 seasons, the chance to be in the conversation, be in the playoffs, and be in that situation would be. I mean, this place would go nuts for a playoff run. Trust me, people are so desperate to get back and be relevant again in the NBA. It's been a rough stretch, but it looks like it's coming to an end. You look around the league, and it was quite an interesting deadline. I think there was a lot of interesting moves, and I think that the one that gets the most attention, because he always gets attention, is James Harden. What did you make of the trade of James Harden to the Cavaliers? Do you like it, or do you think this is going to turn out the same way all the other James Harden trades have turned out?
I kind of lean both, honestly. Like, I think it's great for Cleveland. Kobe Altman talked to reporters a little while ago. I was on the call, and said, James did not ask for a trade. Now, I don't know if the Clippers are going to offer a different version of this tale, because it seems like James has asked for a trade 5 or 20 other times before.
We've seen the show before.
But the fact that, look at that lineup. I mean, James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. That's pretty scary in an East that's wide open. Due respect to Detroit, who I think got better making little moves, getting another shooter like Kevin Huerter. I think that definitely helps them. Kevin Huerter and Duncan Robinson together on the court is just going to create so much space for Cade. It's ridiculous. I think Detroit got better. New York's obviously been great all year. Brunson's going to be in the MVP conversation. The job Joe Mazzulla has done with Boston is crazy to me. And they get Vucevic, and they might get Jason Tatum somehow at the end of this thing. The Celtics are going to be really good, but the East is wide open. And it's weird that I think right now a Cleveland team that we're all like is air quotes struggling, or has struggled at times this year. Obviously, they're on a roll right now. But a team that struggled so much, we forgot how banged up they were. To me, they are in a better position for a deep run this year than they were last year when they won 1 million games and started 15-0 and all that good stuff, because they've gone through it now. And look, Harden doesn't get to touch the trophy, but Harden has as many playoff games as anybody not named LeBron, pretty much. I mean, KD's probably up there, even with a couple of years missed because of the Achilles. Like, James Harden knows what it's like in April and May. June is a bit of a foreign concept to James,
right.
But start with April and May first. And so I like the trade for him, but also they saved almost $100 million in tax. Like, that's a huge thing. I mean, that's a win right there. They're going to open up a palace next year as far as a new training facility. Dan Gilbert, $100 million to him is like $10 to me and you, but it's still $100 million. I mean, that's a big deal for them. So there's a lot to like about that Cleveland trade. And, with James, remember, they always start pretty good. So the Cavs just have to get a couple of good months out of this. And then whatever happens this summer happens this summer.
Tim Reynolds writes for the AP, covers, of course, is covering the Olympics in Milan Cortina. He's in the Cortina part of it. And, of course, Salt Lake Olympics are going to be hosted here in 2034. I don't know if you knew that or not, Tim. But
I've already I've been to Park City preparing for the 2034.
Good.
Doing your research. Smart.
So
can't wait.
The trade that also didn't happen that is also just as big of a headline is the Giannis Antetokounmpo drama that we're seeing play out in Milwaukee or not play out, or what on earth is going to be the future for that guy?
Who knows? I honestly think he didn't want to get traded today just so he could drop the Wolf of Wall Street meme, so he could be like the 5 millionth guy to put that clip on. Like Klay Thompson did it first, and Klay Thompson did it best. Now Giannis is doing it. Come on, man. It's like, it's like bringing back WhatsApp. It was old. Yeah, you failed. You flopped there. Sorry. It's going to happen at some point. But here's the funny part: is some of the GMs I've talked to are like, well, obviously it's going to get talked about a lot this summer, but the Bucks aren't going to do anything until October, until he's actually extension eligible. Like, they don't know what they're going to do. I really think the Bucks like reminding people that they have this incredible commodity, and guys are going to want to play with Giannis. I talked to someone today, and it was not a member of either team's front office, so it is third party, secondhand, whatever we want to call it. Take it with a grain of salt. But there were some people in the league today thinking that John Morant was going to end up in Milwaukee.
Wow.
So, yeah, it kind of goes with what Giannis is saying. Some people lead, some people, attract, whatever, however he worded it. I do believe him when he tells the beat writers there in those separate interviews a couple of days ago that he does want to be in Milwaukee for the entirety of his career. I believe Dwayne when Dwayne said he wanted to be in Miami for the entirety of his career. When you get to the end, toward the end, and situations are what they are, things happen. I just can't see the Bucks giving him $275 for 4 years. It's such an enormous sum of money for a guy who's going to be pushing mid to middle late 30s by the time it's over and has a history of calf problems and whatever. Just get ready for 3 more months of Giannis talk this summer, which I think is probably the inevitable. It's almost certainly going to happen. If I'm the Bucks, you now know from talking to these 4 teams, and really it wasn't 4, it was really only 3. And really at the end it was probably just 2. It was probably just Minnesota and Miami that made the biggest plays to get him. You know what the market is now. So now you have it in your head. Do I go into June and July thinking, okay, this is what I can get plus more because teams will have more picks on lock this coming summer? Or do I just say, to heck with it, I'm going to the team that wins the lottery and saying, you can take this guy at number 1 or you can get Giannis. What do you say? And I think that could be the power move that John Horst tries. So, yes, it'll be here we go again. Chris Haynes reported this, and I've been told the same thing. Giannis is not shutting it down for the year. If he can play, he will continue playing. They're not that far out of the 10th spot in the East. It's not unthinkable to think that they can get into the play-in. And then if you're in a play-in situation, do you want to see Giannis coming at you? Probably not. So they could get in. They're not going to do much if they get in, but they're not ready to give up on the whole year yet. But, yes, this summer it's going to be Giannis mania once again.
We have some colleagues here that are out there covering the Olympics from KSL, and they are in Cortina, and the scenery there is phenomenal. I wanted to hear from you just how incredible the Dolomites are while you're staying there in Cortina. What is the scenery like there? So
I basically did not have a great flight coming over today. No. I'm not. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. So I didn't get a ton of sleep. I expected to, and I didn't. So I was dragging a bit today, and it's the flight I took me Miami, London, Venice. Why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because it's a 3-hour bus ride from Venice to Cortina.
Oh, wow.
I was done. I was dead to the world until we got to about 2,600 feet elevation. And then you just sit there with your mouth open. It's incredibly gorgeous here. It's an old town, but I say that in a good way. It reminds me of vintage Lake Placid. The streets are narrow. There's snow and slush everywhere. There is no sidewalk. It's just covered in slush and winter crap. And the people here, you see Olympic banners everywhere. People here, I can't speak for any of the other clusters, but people here are so excited about the Olympics being back in Cortina. We don't have all the details on the opening ceremony tomorrow night, but I do know that they're going to be walking down basically the main road in Cortina, and I think the people of this town are going to be standing 10 feet from them.
That's awesome.
The athletes that are going to do their parade here, they're going to be able to stop and take pictures with their loved ones and things. If I'm understanding this correctly, instead of pointing at them
right
from a million miles away in the middle of a 75,000 seat soccer stadium or something. There's just such a coolness to this. It's like anything, people saw how spread out it was and different clusters and, this is terrible. It's not going to work. No, it's different. It's not terrible. And there's going to be an old timey, heartwarming field with, especially up here. And I don't know if you guys have heard, but it's coming back to Salt Lake in 2034.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this because you can't do it the same way you did in 02. So maybe there is a way to incorporate some of the thinking. Guys, it's my 13th. It's my 7th winter. I I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I'm
Love
super excited about this just because of it's unspeakably gorgeous up here.
That's cool.
Do you have like a thing that you, like an event that you have circled that you, I mean, obviously you probably have a plan of things you're going to be covering, but is there one that you go, oh, I cannot wait for X?
So I'm kind of the Woj of sliding, and not that it doesn't mean anything to anybody. I just like telling people, I'm the Woj of sliding, and they just roll their eyes.
So does that include the luge, skeleton, all the bobsled events, all that stuff?
I'm the bobsled skeleton luge guy.
Okay.
I'm Mr. Bobsleigh. It's so my schedule's built around that.
Okay. Love it.
The sport is super fun, but for me, it's always for me the four-man bobsled race. First of all, that's like the Daytona 500 of the sport, except it's at the end, not the beginning. It's always the last race of the Olympics. It's awesome for two reasons. One, four-man bobsled is just the greatest thing, and two, it means I'm going home tomorrow because it's the last day of the Olympics.
Yeah.
So it's a double win for me. I am very excited this year about women's monobob. I think it's the Americans and the Germans who are going to dominate a lot in women's bobsledding. I think the U.S. has a chance they could win the whole thing in women's monobob. They could watch Germany win all three medals. Keisha Love, a proud daughter of Utah.
That's right, from Harriman.
The reigning world champion in women's monobob. I know everybody will be out there watching anyway, but this could get really fun. So for me, I would say women's monobob, four-man, and kind of want to see. I know she's a Park City girl, so Ashley Farquharson, if she did something in women's luge, it would be awesome. But I've followed the Sweeney family for a long time. I'd kind of like to see Emily Fishnauer find her way to the medal podium in what might be her last Olympics. So there's a lot. There's going to be a lot of cool racing, and I've gotten to know a lot of these. I've watched a lot of these adults that are here racing. I've watched them race since they were kids.
That's awesome.
And this is going to be the last one for a lot of them. It might be the last one for me too. There's some steep hills out here. There's some steep hills. This might be a young man game going forward.
Yeah,
no, Tim, you're going to make it to 2034 here in Salt Lake City. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
Because the Winter Olympics are coming here in 2034.
I just learned it's coming back.
Yeah,
but
that's
2030 is in the French Alps. So I might suck it up and go for that one.
Well,
but Park City, I am most definitely there. And the only thing I want to do there is sliding. I don't want to do anything else.
Trading flat Florida for a beautiful scenery in the Dolomites. He's Tim Reynolds. Writes for the AP. He is if you want to get some sliding Reynolds bombs on tweets, yeah, you're going to get them. So, Tim, we appreciate it. Thanks for dipping in here, and I'm glad that you're able to be alive after the long trip there into Cortina, but thanks for joining us on the program, man.
Thanks for having me, as always. Talk to you guys soon.
There you go. Love Tim Reynolds, man.